Hello and welcome to a discussion centered around data visualization and communication, and in particular, visualizing text and text metrics. So, coming up with a way of analyzing and looking at text, similar to what we might do with traditional quantitative type data. So, whenever you're doing this, you'll be probably thinking of things like word clouds, and that's something to consider as well. So, when you're dealing with metrics that is textual based, it can visualize or be related to text that can be visualized over various sort of either time series sort of graphs or bar charts and so on. We also may use graphing techniques on text to provide insight about the information contained within text. It's an example of a word cloud, not necessarily terribly scientific, but it is sometimes informative. But we do want to think about a way that we can convert all of this raw text we have into some sort of numerical data. Um, so these are various types of graphs that you could plot over time, and this might be based upon some sort of natural language processing, such as either topic analysis of a blurb. You may also consider things like sentiment, that's always in there as well. But we're basically taking numbers and we're quantifying them. We're turning text into numbers using analytics that were then used to do analytics on top of. It's kind of belaboring the point, but it's an important to understand. There's a lot of value in that textual data, and we oftentimes underestimate how important it is to be able to pull it out and utilize it within an organization. The basic way that we do this is into kind of the common four steps that you see on the screen. We do some pre-processing of the text potentially to clean things up, to remove things we don't like, and whatever else. We'll then break that text into words or some sort of token, some sort of unit of things we care about. We'll do some post processing, and then we'll start doing some counting. And oftentimes, this is just one sort of approach we do, but this is a common used approach, common such that it may be built into your favorite spreadsheet. In the pre-processing step, you're going to fix the text prior to doing anything to it. You might do things like normalization of the capitalization, so everything is the same, be it all lower, all upper, or whatever is desired. Or you may even do something that purposely reduces the amount of text. So you may actually do something like sentiment analysis or concept or summarization on a blurb to get back something of less words in order to turn around and use that to come up with some sort of analytics. And it is a common step that we follow when we're dealing with this sort of processing. We also want to make sure that we might need to remove some information as well, so that make sure that nothing in there is terribly sensitive. And at the end of this, what you're trying to do is convert it from something that might have been very difficult to use, such as a PDF, into something that can actually be used. You may also do things like turning certain phrases into similar things. And that's kind of that concept analysis that you may go through. And you may do the same thing with location and various other things, because this is all important things that you may take into consideration. Generally, you only do that work if you're wanting to perform some form of analytics. So when we're dealing with tokenization, it's all about breaking stuff into tokens, right? The name gives it away. But these tokens can be different things. They could be words. That's one thing. They might be some sort of embedding that you've used a model to determine. But once you do this stuff, you need to be able to organize them and categorize and group them. You may also need to deal with punctuation and numbers, especially. So a lot of these things have to be handled. Once you've done all that, you can actually start doing some post processing on that tokenization stuff. So you might need to try to put things back as they were. You may remove noise words, things that maybe have very little value. the and if are very low as far as, other than in context, very, very low in usefulness. There are some things such as State of the Union, you would expect to find the word America more frequently than in other domains. So that's another thing to consider, is that you have to be aware of the domain in which you're in. America could be very different if you're talking about foreign car sales or something than if you're, because it may be meaning American-made automobiles rather than just America. Once you've done all that, you're going to go and do some counting of some words, and then you take that and you turn it into a graph. So here's an example, and this is likely a little hard for some to see. Oftentimes the video will catch up if you let it sit for a bit, so you may want to pause if you're having challenges. So in this example, we're basically going through and reading State of the Union Express, running it through a tokenizer, and you can see, I'll go ahead and point at it with a highlighter, so that you can see we're reading it here, running it through a tokenizer, and we're using the NLTK toolkit. And then going through and essentially getting only the words, right? This is one way of doing it. There's other ways to do it. You also get rid of stop words. These are noise words that have very low value. And in this case, we're pulling back all the ones that are related to this English data set and essentially getting rid of those that aren't in the other set. There's probably a more elegant way to do that. And then get rid of some additional stop words that we know may be domain specific. And then once you've done all that, you can do the counting. The counts then are essentially doing the same sort of counts that we've been doing for quite some time. This looks very similar to what you get out of the word count algorithm inside of a MapReduce program. And so it's basically a way of giving you at least relative importance within the particular speech. Once you have those numbers, then you will likely use them as a way of either doing them for comparison amongst various sets. So you may consider within the set of working adults versus college students, what are the most commonly things that are mentioned in social media or blog posts in the past 60 days. You would expect the college students to be potentially more concerned with things like the environment, since they'll be around here longer to enjoy it. But they, depending upon the situation, may or may not be as concerned with the economy because they're not in it yet. Though as they get closer to it, they may start being more interested. The point of all this is that this is a way of gaining some pretty interesting insights just by examining blog posts. You take that oftentimes and then want to convert that to a narrative. And so one of the key things that you want to think through, even if you're producing a PowerPoint, you need to be thinking of what is the story that you're telling. And if you were to tell the story to your audience, what would it be? So why is that chart that you just saw important, and why do you care? If you have any questions about this material or anything else that I've talked about, let me know. I appreciate it. And thank you for watching. And let me know if you're watching this stuff. Like and subscribe. That always helps. And I look forward to talking with you in the future.